Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this picture. In this picture I've used a lighting technique to give a soft graduation to the highly reflective chrome spanner and yet reveal lots of texture and detail in the rusty steel background, and all done in one shot with one light. And in this video I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. Okay. So on this table then I've got set up my subject, which is this spanner, and I've put this on some rusty steel to form a bit of a background. Then in front of that I have my tripod, and on top of the tripod I'm going to put my camera. I'm using this full frame digital SLR with a 24 to 70 millimeter zoom lens on the front of it and a flash sync trigger on the top. And the camera itself is tethered into Capture One software, so it's easy to show the results as we go along. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this on this tripod like that. Right, and I'll just frame up the shot. So just looking through the viewfinder, first thing I'm going to do is just zoom that in all the way to the 70mm end on the lens. And then we'll adjust the focus. I want the focus point to be somewhere on the end of the spanner. About there somewhere should do it. So with that done, next thing to do, just turn the camera on, like so. And the software has recognized the camera, so we can have a look at what settings I've got on that at the moment. Now the camera's set in full manual mode, and I'm using a shutter speed of 1/250th of a second, which is the flash sync speed for this camera, with a 100 ISO, and at the moment an aperture of f8. So with these settings and no flash set, I'll just take a picture and we'll just see what we get. Excellent. So basically what I'm checking for here is that we're not getting much of an image. If we did get something here, that would give contamination to the proper picture, if you like, which is taken with the flash. Okay, so with that experiment out of the way, next thing to do would be to think about how this is going to be lit. Now in the picture that I showed at the beginning, you can see that we have a very nice graduation across the chrome parts of the spanner. Now that was achieved with the aid of a diffusion panel. This is a diffusion panel. This is referred to as a quarter stop silk. It's actually made of nylon, but you get the idea. And this is about 4 feet by 4 feet. So what I'm going to do is just rearrange this a little. There we are, like that. And then I'm just going to place this just in here so that it's over the top of the subject. So you should be able to see that we've got the majority of the panel here, which is over the top of the subject and almost over the top of the camera as well. So I think something like that should do. So with the diffusion panel in place, the next thing to do would be to set a light. So this is what I'm going to be using as the light source. This is a studio head which uses this power pack on the floor for its energy. So it makes the head itself quite a lot lighter. So if you're going to put it on a boom like this, it makes it a lot easier to handle. The other thing about this is that we have a very wide dispersion from the head. This is about 270 degrees, so it will give an all-around light, which is what I want. So here we are, this is where I'm going to place it. I'm going to get it as close to the directly overhead of the subject as I can, so that's about there. And with that in place, I'm just going to put a sandbag on the base of the stand just to make the whole thing a bit more stable, like so. And we'll just plug that into the power pack. Like that. Turn that on. Right, so with that set, we have an arbitrary energy level on the power pack. I'll turn the flash sync trigger on, and we'll just grab a test image. Okay, well, we can see from this that it's not bad from an exposure point of view, but it is a little flat. There isn't very much detail in this background here. And the graduation on the spanner, although it's there, it's not very pronounced. So there's quite a lot we can do about that, especially with a setup like this. So the first thing I'm going to do is just take this up in the air a little to get it a little bit further away from the subject. That will generally make the whole thing quite a lot softer. And also, because I've moved it up in the air, due to the inverse square law, the exposure should be nearer to where it needs to be. Just grab an image. There, that's not bad. The exposure is much better, and we're starting to get a more pronounced graduation down the length of the spanner here. But it's still not quite gritty enough at the front here for me. So what we can do is move the light. And as you move this light, it will make a huge difference to the way that the spanner looks. So in order to be able to see what I'm doing here, what I'm going to do is turn the modelling light on that light, like so. And for this to work properly, I'll need to turn the house lights out. So we'll just do that now. Okay, so with the house lights out, the next thing I'm going to do is just start up live view on here, so you can see through the camera's point of view the subject. There we go. So with that on, what I'm going to do now is just move this light, and as I move the light around, you'll be able to see the change in the picture. So as I go to one side, we can see that like so, and then over to the other side, and this gives you an awful lot of control over exactly where you're placing the shadows. So the other thing that you can do is, if I actually make this light closer to the diffuser, like so, what you actually get is a hot spot on here. So you're going to end up with a nice graduation, but a hot spot on the background. And that should cause the background to become more granular. So what I'll do is just come out of live view, so, and we'll just grab an image. There, so you can see in this image that we're actually starting to get there. I think overall the exposure is actually slightly too much. It needs to be taken off by about one stop. So what I'll do is turn the modelling light out, turn the house lights back on, and what we'll do is just take a stop off that, off the energy, like so, and we'll just grab that again. There, that's much better. So this is what we had before, and you can see that this is all a bit bland, and there's some detail in here, but not a lot. And this is what we have now. So now we have a good graduation across the spanner, and also we've got lots and lots of detail going on in here. Now I think the actual exposure is somewhere between the two of these. So what I'm going to do is just add half a stop to the energy, just like this, and we'll grab that again. Yes, that's getting there, isn't it? So this is what we had before, a bit dark, this is much better. And I think overall this is probably the sort of thing that I want to go forward with. So having captured that image, the next stage would be just to go into Photoshop, do a little bit of tidying up in post-production. So here we are in Photoshop. So I've loaded up this image, which is the last one we captured, and the first thing I'm going to do is just make a duplicate of that. So just on the layer here, I'm just going to right click that, come down to duplicate layer, and I actually want this in a new document. So just pick new, and we'll pick a name, we'll call it Shiny Spanner. So what that has done is made a new document at the top here, which is a copy of the camera original. So I'm going to edit this one and leave the other one all alone. Right, so first thing I'm going to do in here then is just make a duplicate layer within this document, like so. So this is what I'll edit, and then I'll be able to show you the difference between that and the camera original. So if I just zoom in, like so, you can see that we've got the odd mark and there's some scratches in here, which I think the scratches add to the overall feel of the image. But this little mark is a bit distracting, so what I'm going to do is just use the spot removal tool, or spot healing brush, just to get rid of that. So we just do a bit of editing on that, like so. The other thing that I find a little distracting is this 18. This is obviously an 18mm spanner, so what I want to do is get rid of that as well. So again, using the healing tools, but this time I'm going to use a patch tool, like so. And with this, all I'm going to do is just draw around where the 18 is, like that, and then just edit that to a place further up the spanner. So, there. So that's all gone now. So if I just zoom out again. Now the other thing that I think is slightly distracting, this area at the back here is maybe a little light for my liking. So I'm going to try and take that down a bit. There's lots and lots of different ways to do this. But what I'm going to do is just add an adjustment layer. So just going for exposure. So I'm just going to take the exposure down on this layer. I'm going to increase the gamma, which actually increases the contrast a bit, like that. So then if we just switch back to the layers, now this obviously being an adjustment layer has a mask on it, and at the moment it's applying that adjustment over the whole image. So what I want it to do is just apply it to a graduation in this corner. So what I'm going to do is just pick the graduation tool here and just make sure this is set for a linear gradient, and that the linear gradient is going to go from foreground to background, which is this one here. So this is where you set the foreground and background. So with all that set up, all I need to do is just make a small line in this corner. There. That's possibly not quite in the right place, so let me just move that down a bit. And you can see that I can have various attempts at getting this right until I'm happy. We might take it a bit more than that. There, let's spread it out a bit more. Yeah, that looks good to me. And you can see on the mask here just what it's done. So with those little bits done, I think it just remains to apply a crop to the image, and we're almost there. So I'll just click the crop tool. Now I'm going to be using this for my video, so this is 16:9, but you'd probably pick something which suited your subject a bit more if necessary. And I think I might just move that ever so slightly in the frame, just like that. There we go. But apart from that, I think that's pretty good. So with that done, I will now just click on the confirm. And there we have it. So this just goes to show that you can have a soft graduation in your main subject and still have some bite and detail in the background, all with one light and all with one exposure. And all in all, I think that's made a very nice image. Okay, well I hope you liked seeing how I made that picture, and if you like watching these sort of things, do click on the other images as they appear, and don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and click the like button. Thank you very much for watching.